What's going on, guys? Today's episode is going to be about these two bow bucks, the number 1 and number 2 in the county. This one's number 1, and that one was tied for number 2. Bow buck in the county in Tennessee. And I actually had history with this deer a year prior, and I set up to hunt this deer. I believe he was been a 4.5-year-old. He was 5.5 when I shot him, but of 22, he had been a 4.5-year-old, and we got a velvet season here in Tennessee. And so I was running cameras all summer, and had pictures of him. And about 4 days before the velvet season that year, it flooded this whole bottom. So I had to move my whole setup about 800 yards on top of this hill and to find this deer again, and I got him. And there was another buck actually traveling with that deer that year that I took during that velvet season, and I got him upstairs mounted. But and so after I shot that deer of the 22 season during the velvet, I maybe got 1 or 2 more pictures of that deer, and he disappeared. Like, I don't know if he went across the river or what. I just didn't have any more pictures of him. Well, fast forward to 23. Now this deer and this deer are together, traveling together, and I don't think I had any pictures of this deer in 22. I may have. I don't believe so. But I could be wrong. He could have been there and just threw all this kicker stuff and trash, But anyway, so my sights were set on this deer right here. I wasn't even thinking about shooting this deer. I had him on camera. I was like, yeah, he's, decent deer, pretty good deer on camera, but he was a whole lot bigger in person. That's one of them, like, oh my Lord, I misjudged that deer by a lot, But anyway, I ended up taking the regular bow season. I didn't even hunt the velvet season during the 23. I just stay out of there. It just wasn't right. I didn't feel right about it, and I wasn't really getting daylight pictures of him of neither one of them. And it was mostly like 11, 12 o'clock at night, And so I opted not to hunt the velvet season that year. And so fast forward a month later into the regular bow season into September here in Tennessee. So I'm hard at it. And about 4 or 5 hunts in, after opening weekend, I hadn't seen neither one of them hunting yet until I took the day I took this deer. I took this deer first, and he come out in the thicket, out in the bean field, and I shot him, quartering away, and runs out about 100 yards, and falls in the bean field, and I couldn't believe how big he was, man, because I had no intentions of taking this deer at all. All my sights were set on this deer right here, the second one I took. But anyway, when this deer fell out in the bean field, I looked down about 200-300 yards, and there he was. They wasn't together that day for whatever reason. And so I was like, daggum, so he's still around, So a week goes by, and now I'm back after this deer right here. And it took me 6 encounters. I shouldn't say 6 sits. It was 6 encounters to finally take this deer. Because I had an encounter going in that I didn't even get to sit. I had to just back out of there because he done beat me to the bean field to where I wanted to get to. And anyway, so, there was several times where I just run out of light and I didn't have a shot, and that I didn't get out of tree until 3 or 4 hours, after dark, so I wouldn't bust him. And I shine my green light, make sure he's not still around. One time he bedded down on me. 10 yards from me, and I shine my green light, and he's just laying there, just looking around, I'm like, golly. And so, but the day I got a shot at him, it was pretty windy, and it was a little bit of that October cool snap in the air, and he come down the ridge, that same trail that they've been coming down, same trail I shot him off of. It comes into the bean field, and he stopped. And I really, on neither of these deer, had the right wind to hunt them. And if you'd have asked me, a year or so prior, a couple years prior, would I have hunted that wind? I'd have told you no. But it's the only wind they would come in on this bean field. And it was terrible for me, great for them, So I had to figure out, how can I get a shot off without these deer winding me? And that's what I did. I found a little pinch point where that trail was at, and so my wind was kind of blowing blowing into a ridge, you know what I mean? And they were kind of coming this way, and that trail kind of right here at it, and it kind of bends, and that's where I sat up at, and it worked. This deer had no clue I was in the world, not at all. Him, he knew I was there, because he stopped, and I was in my saddle when I shot this deer. I was in my climber when I shot this one, but when he stopped, there's a dead fallen cedar tree, and he stuck his head up. And I'm like, man, he knows I'm here. And he went to backtrack just a little bit and turn. When he turned, I was able, luckily I was in that saddle, I extended as far as I could to shoot underneath that dead cedar or whatever. And he fell in his tracks. I thought I spined him, but it actually just went right behind that, his front shoulder into the opposite shoulder, and he just collapsed. I'm very blessed to take him. But anyway, that's, you know, what I advise, hunting the wrong wind. You know, I still play the wind, but that's the thing with mobile hunting is you can kind of get in there, because you're not gonna get a true wind all the time, especially early season and when it's hot and there's thermals involved, and you kind of just have to. And I've learned, like, if it's a giant or a big one, a big buck, mature buck, I don't care if he's 5.5 or 120 inches, 130 inches, 5.5-year-old. That's a mature buck, you know, especially in the South. Or you can shake, what's that old saying? You can shake a bush and 10 rednecks fall out. That's about the way it is. But anyway, I just took a chance and went after it, man. On that, you know, hunting a wind that I normally wouldn't have hunted. Because it was, you know, when you walking into the field, the wind's hitting you right in the back of the head, blowing right where they're bedded at. And I just, you know, luckily there was a creek there, and I just got down in the creek, and just hopefully my wind was just blowing in that bank, just trying to slip in there, and hopefully I could get right up a tree and him come out, you know, right in front of me, and it worked. But anyway, that's a quick story on these two Tennessee bucks, river bottom bucks, the number 1 and the number 2 bow buck in the county. Thanks for watching.